everyone, welcome to our channel Knowledge Hub. Friends, subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon for the latest update. आज हम कंप्यूटर नेटवर्क की क्लास करेंगे जो कि क्लास नंबर 12 है. ऑलरेडी हमने 11 क्लासेस कर लिया है. एंड फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल इट्स अ ह्यूज रिक्वेस्ट फ्रॉम माय साइड टू ऑल द व्यूअर्स, प्लीज़ go through with the subscribe button and please like, share and subscribe our channel so that many and maximum people can get the information at once. And even though you can also enjoy the video as well. As of in the terms of computer network, as we had completed the 3 unit, that is unit 1, that is introduction to computer network, then unit 2, that is your SS medium sublayer, and then we have done your unit 3rd, that is your network layer, and now we had started in the last classes, that is unit 4, that is your transport layer. ट्रांसपोर्ट लेयर में भी हम बहुत सारी चीज़ें डिस्कस कर चुके हैं. लास्ट टॉपिक जो हमने डिस्कस किया था ट्रांसपोर्ट लेयर में, वो हमने क्रिप्टोग्राफी एंड पब्लिक की दैट इज़ क्रिप्टो सिस्टम को डिस्कस किया था, जिसमें हमने सिमेट्रिक की क्रिप्टोग्राफी और एसिमेट्रिक की क्रिप्टोग्राफी भी यूज़ किया था एंड उसको अंडरस्टैंड किया था विद दैट डिफरेंसेस बिटवीन पब्लिक की एंड प्राइवेट की एल्गोरिथम एज वेल. So now in the today's class we'll start with discussing defined cryptography that we had discussed it about it, and with the help of a block diagram with that symmetric and asymmetric key cryptography that we'll discuss, and that has been asked of 10 marks as well. So here we'll go ahead with that is your symmetric key cryptography. In the symmetric key cryptography, a symmetric key encryption model has a 5 ingredient, and that what we have here, that those of 5 ingredients we have here, that is the first is your plain text, the second is encryption algorithm, this third we have is your secret key, the fourth we have here is your ciphertext, and the fifth we have is your that is decryption algorithm. With this, that the conventional encryption model that has been represented, and even though that what we have to discuss as well. So here that is your plain text and encryption key application, decryption algorithm, and then plain text output that we will discuss here. So here we'll go ahead with the diagram, which is the conventional encryption model. This is plain text input. After this will be your that is logged, and that is your encryption algorithm. And here is a key as well. Okay, so here that will goes towards, and that we have the decryption algorithm here with the key, and that is your decryption here is as well as that is a lock, that is decryption algorithm. Then again we have that is your the plain text output. And these were the two that the secret key shared by the sender and the recipient here. This is what we termed as conventional encryption model. Same for that plain text, that is the original message or the data that is fed into the algorithm as input here. And for the encryption algorithm here, that performs the various substitution and in transformation on the plain text, where in the secret key that we have here, that the secret key is a value independent of the plain text and of the algorithm. The exact substitution and the transformation performed by the algorithm depend on the key as well. With the ciphertext, that is the scrambled message produced as output, and it depends on the plain text and the secret key as well. And where the decryption algorithm here, that takes the ciphertext and the secret key and produces the original plain text as well, where that the original intelligible message that is referred to as a plain text is converted into the random nonsense referred to as ciphertext, where that the science and the art, the process of that is converting the plain text into the ciphertext, that is called encryption here. And with the science and the art of the manipulating the message to make them secure is called cryptography. And an original message to be transformed is called plain text, and the resulting message after the transformation is called the ciphertext as well. With the same regard, that the process of converting the plain text into the ciphertext, that is called encryption, and where the reverse the process is called decryption as well, where the encryption process consists of an algorithm and a key. The key controls the algorithm, where the objective is to design an encryption technique so that it would be very difficult or impossible for an unauthorized party to understand the content of the ciphertext, and a user can recover the original message only by decrypting the ciphertext using the secret key. And depending upon that the secret key is used, where the algorithm will produce a different output as well, and if the secret key changes, the output of the algorithm also changes as well. Talking about the asymmetric key cryptography, which we have here, is that is in the same case that Diffie and Hellman that proposed a new type of an cryptography that distinguished between the encryption and decryption key, and one of the key would be publicly known and the other would be kept private by its user. So these algorithms have the following important characteristics which we have, and that is the first, it must be that is computationally easy to encipher and decipher a message given the appropriate key as well, and it must be computationally infeasible to derive the private key from the public key, and it must be computationally infeasible to determine the private key from the chosen plain text attacks as well. Where a public key encryption scheme has a 6 ingredients, that public key cryptography we have. The first we have is your plain text, and in the plain text here, that is as I told you about the plain text, it is an input to algorithm and it is readable message or that data as well. The encryption algorithm we have is that is it performs a various transformation on the plain text, where the third one we have is your private and public key. So I will just write it down for that. That is the first is your plain text, the second is encryption algorithm, the third is your public and private key. Which is that one key is used for the encryption and the other is the key is used for the decryption here, as I had made you iterated here. That is the transmitted ciphertext, and this is the Alice public key and the Alice private key as well. And for that, that the next we have is just ciphertext. The ciphertext, this is the scrambled message produced as output. It depends on the plain text and the key as well. And for same, that is the another one we have is your fifth one, that is decryption algorithm. Here, that is this algorithm accepts the ciphertext and of course the matching key and produces the original plain text as well. Where if this is the plain text input has been sent to the encryption algorithm, that is your Bob's private key, and that is transmitted ciphertext. So the Bob's public key will be used to decrypt the algorithm, and then of course it will give the plain text output as well. This is a public key cryptography here. Let's the essential steps are the following, that each user generates a pair of key that to be used to encryption and the decryption of a message as well. With the same case, each user places one or the two keys in the public register, and this is the public key. The companion key is kept private, and if the Bob wishes to send a confidential message to Alice, the Bob encrypts the message using Alice's public key, and Alice decrypts the message using the private key as well, where the public key is access to all participants and private key in a that is generated locally by each participants as well. With the same case, we'll discuss in a detail that is what is public key cryptography. So now we'll go ahead with the advantages and disadvantages and explain how RSA works here. So let's go ahead. Advantages and disadvantages, and of course RSA working that we have to discuss. So first we'll go ahead with the advantages, then we'll go ahead with the disadvantages, and then we'll go ahead with RSA working as well. The advantages of public key algorithm we have here, that is only the private key must be kept secret, and where that the administrations of the key on the network requires the presence of only a functional trusted TTP as opposed to an unconditional trusted TTP, where a private key pair remains unchanged for the considerable long period of time. There are many relatively efficient digital signature mechanism as a result of asymmetric key schemes as well, and in a large network the number of the key necessary may be considerably small than that of the symmetric key scenario as well. For the disadvantages here, these were the 5 advantages we had discussed about it. The disadvantages of the public key algorithm is that first is that the slower throughput rates than that of the best known symmetric key schemes, and the second is that large key sizes and no asymmetric key scheme has been proven to be secure, and the fourth is that is lack of extensive history as well. RSA is a block cipher in which the plain text and ciphertext are integers between 0 to n minus 1 for some n, and a typical size for n is 1024 bits as well, where the RSA algorithm develops in 1977 by Rivest, Shamir and Edelman RSA, and that is stands for the Rivest, Shamir and Edelman RSA at MIT. RSA algorithm is a public key encryption type algorithm, and in this algorithm one user uses a public key and the other uses a secret key, that is your private key. In the same case, in the RSA algorithm, each station independently and randomly chooses the two large primes, that is P and Q number, and the multiplies them to produce where that is equals to n equals to P multiply Q, and which is the module used in the arithmetic calculations of the algorithm. The detail of the RSA algorithm are described as follows, that what we have to discuss as well, and that is the key generations, where the key generation pick two large prime numbers, that is P and Q, where P does not equals to Q as well. To calculate n equals to P multiply Q here. To calculate this, the phi of n, that is P minus 1 and Q minus 1, and pick n here, that is pick so that the GOD that will find it out, and we have to calculate the D, and after that when we find it out, then we'll get a public key which is k of u equals to e comma n, and get private key, that is k of r equals to d comma n as well. The encryption is for the plain text block, that is P is less than n, then its ciphertext is C equals to P power E mod n, and for the decryption for the ciphertext block C, that it made plain text equals to C the power T D mod n here. And for that, now we'll go ahead to solve a question here, that is this for the substitution cipher and the transposition cipher as well. For that, we will be doing first numerical, and then we'll go ahead with the differences between the block ciphers and the transposition cipher as well. The question we have, using the RSA public key crypto system with A equals to 1, b equals to 2, etc. Where the first is, if p equals to 7 and q equals to 11, list 5 legal values for D. Second part, we have to solve it out. If p equals to 13 and q equals to 31 and d equals to 7, then find E here. That has been asked of 10 marks here. So let's go ahead with the solution. For the first one, we have to do first. That is z equals to p minus 1 abstract q minus, that is a multiply here, that is q minus 1. So here that is p minus 1 is 6 and q minus 1 will be your 10. And for that, here we'll be having, that is your 7, that is 7 minus 1, that is 6, and 11 minus 1, that is your 10 here. Okay, so then it will multiply with this, 6 tens up, that is 60. This is the first, that possible values for the D are, that is your the D, we have the possible values, that is your 7, 11, 13, 17, 19, 23, 29, 31, and so on. For the second one, if I'm going to solve it out, that is your z equals to p minus 1 abstract q minus 1. So p minus 1, that is your 12, because it has been represented in 13. 13 minus 1, that is 12, and abstract, then of course 31 minus 1, that is 30. So with this we'll have 360 when we multiply with it. Okay, and for that is your 7 abstract e mod 360 equals to 1. 7 abstract e mod 360, which is equals to 360 abstract 1 plus 1, that is equals to 361, and then 7 abstract e mod 360 equals to 360 2 plus 1, that is equals to 721, and where 7 abstract e equals to 721, and that is equals to 103, that has been divided by 7, so that will be 103, that is 721. If it is divided by 7, 7 was a 7, and that is 7 was a 7, 0, and 7 3 is a 21, so that is your 103 here. Okay, and if you don't know cancelling out like this, you can just go ahead with the decimal here, that division, that is 7 1 is a 7, that is cancel it out, and then of course we will take 0, and then we'll take its 21 same, and then 7 3 is a 21, cancel it out. Okay, so now we'll discuss about the differences between the block ciphers with the transposition cipher here. So let's go ahead with discussing about block cipher. In the block cipher, if I'm talking about, so here that a block cipher operates on a block of data where algorithm breaks the plain text into the blocks and operates on each block independently. Usually the blocks are of 8 or 16 bytes long, and security of block cipher depends on the design of the encryption function. Software implementation of the block cipher run faster than the software implementation of the stream cipher, where the errors in the transmitting one block generally do not affect the other block, and each block is enciphered independently using the same key, and identical plain text blocks produce the identical ciphertext blocks as well. Where suppose that the plain text is 227 bytes long, and the ciphertext you are using to operate on 16 bytes block as well. The algorithm that grabs the first 16 bytes of the data encrypts them using the key table, where algorithm produces the 16 bytes of ciphertext, and after first block the algorithm takes next block, and the key table does not change from block to block, where the plain text is 227 bytes and the block size is 16 byte, which is equals to 227 upon 16, that is equals to 14 blocks plus 3 byte. So with that same case, the algorithm encrypts the 14 blocks and 3 bytes remain. For encrypting the last 3 bytes, the data padding is used and the extra bytes are added to make the last block size to 16 bytes. And whoever decrypts the ciphertext must be able to recognize the padding. And one problem with the block cipher is that if the same block of plain text appears in the two places, it encrypts to the same ciphertext. And to avoid having these kinds of copies in the ciphertext, the feedback modes are used. And the cipher block chaining does not require the extra information to occupy bit spaces. See, every bit is in the block is a part of the message only. That is come under the ciphertext block ciphers here, where before the plain text block is encrypted and ciphered, then the block of XORed with preceding the ciphertext block. In addition to the key, this technique requires an initialization vector to XOR and the initial plain text block as well. And for decrypting the data, copy a block of the ciphertext, decrypt it and XOR the test with the preceding block of the ciphertext as well. We are taking off E of k to be encipherment algorithm with the key k and 1 to be initialization vector. The cipher block chaining technique is, that is we have here C naught equals to ek m naught I, and for C of I we have ek mi C of I minus 1, where for I is greater than 0 here. For the transposition fiber here, in the transposition cipher here, that is the transposition fiber rearranges the character in the plain text to form the ciphertext, and the letter are not changed. The rail for fence cipher is composed by writing the plain text into the two rows proceeding, that is down, then across, the reading the ciphertext across, then down as well. For example, to encipher the message "meet me after this party" with a rail fence of depth 2, we write the following is M, then TE, then MA. So that is has been represented here with the that has been represented, and you can identify that how we had encrypted that. So the ciphertext is that that is in the form of the like meet me at the that we'll add after this party. So that is comes under like MEMATRASATETEFETIPRY. So that is an encrypted in the form that how you encrypted that ciphertext. Attaching the transposition cipher requires the rearrangement of the letters of the ciphertext, and a pure transposition cipher is easily recognized because it has been the same letter frequency as the original plain text. And the plain text is that the book is suitable for self-study. So where the key is 564132. So 564132 has been assigned in that order that has been represented here, and that is the book that is that is suitable for the self-study, and that the ciphertext has been written for this, that is BSLE. So in the same order they had been represented here, that BSLEDOIFF, OUEL, YESBSUTKTOSHIART. So this has been be ciphertext, and these will be coding as like the person who knows the key, that the person only can decrypt that particular code. Now we'll go ahead with the discussion, and we will discuss about the short answer possible question, where a typical socket server application, this is the first question that we have to discuss here, that a typical socket server application respond to user requests using the TCP over a specified port, and what is the typical sequence in the terms of the socket functions on the server side, which has been asked of that is of 2 marks. So the server performs the following function, that is to create a socket bind, listen, read, process, write, and destroy as well. So for the create socket, that is the server asks the operating system to create a socket. Where to bind, the server asks the operating system to enter the information in the socket that is created in the previous step. Then listen, the server asks the operating system to the passive and listen to the client that needs to be connected to the server. Read, that is reads the streams of bytes from the connections and processes the stream of bytes, writes the result as a stream of bytes to the connection, and then if further destroy the socket as well. Where next we have is you're given an example of the packet metadata that has been also called 2 marks, and where that the packet metadata describes the types of the header and the trailer which were serialized in the byte buffer, and the maintenance of the metadata is optional and disabled by the default as well. Then next we have what are the fields on which the UDP checksum is calculated. So UDP checksum includes a pseudo header and the UDP header and the data coming from the application layer as well. The next they can ask you about, that is the define a socket with respect to connecting a user and computer to the internet. In the same case, if I'm talking about where that you have to answer that the socket is a communication endpoint, it uses the IP addresses in the part number as well, port number as well. The next they can ask you what is leaky bucket. So leaky bucket is a traffic shaping mechanism. In a leaky bucket, that the input rate that can vary but the output rate remains the same, constant, and a technique called leaky bucket that can smooth out busty traffic as well. Now they can ask you give the approaches to improve the QoS. So approaches to QoS, they are the two: the fine-grained approaches which provide the quality of services to the individual application or a flow, integrated services, and a quality of services architecture that developed into ITF and that other associated RSVP. And the second is the coarse-grained approaches which provides the quality of services to a large classes of data or aggregated traffic as well. That is differentiated services, which is probably the most widely deployed quality of services mechanism as well. The another thing that they can ask you about, what do you mean by the quality of services, that is QoS. The quality of services is used in some organization to help to provide an optimal end user experiences for the audio and the video communication, where the quality of services is most commonly used on the network where the bandwidth is limited and with a large number of the network packets competing for a relatively small amount of the available bandwidth as well. The another they can ask you about, why is there a UDP. So then the no connection establishment which can add delay, and simple, that is no connection state at sender receiver, small segment header, and no congestions control, that is UDP can blast away as fast as desired. The next question is what is congestions. So when load on the network is greater than this capacity, there is the congestions of the data packet, where the congestions occurs because routers and the switches have a queues or a buffers as well. The next is what are the functions of transport layer. The function we have, the first is the breaks messages into the packet, perform error recovery if lower layer is not done properly. The third is the connection method control. Fourth is addressing, and the fifth is provide reliability. What are the types of the QoS tools? That is the for classification. These tools identify and if desired mark flow and congestion management. These tools queues and the services flow in the different ways to provide a preferential treatment to a certain flows. Congestion avoidance, this tools prevents the queues from filling to allow high priority traffic to enter the queue, and this tool also provides for overall congestion avoidance in an internet or intranet. Shaping policing here, that is these tools limit the bandwidth that flows uses, and the link efficiency, these tools provide the method of mitigating delays experiences on the lower speed links as well. Where the next we have to discuss is what is the difference between the congestions control and the flow control. Flow control is done by the server machine, where as congestions control is done by the router. Flow control cannot block the bandwidth of the medium, whereas congestion control block the bandwidth of the medium. Flow control affects the less on the network performance. Congestion control affects the network performance. Flow control uses buffering, whereas the congestion control not use buffering here. Let's go ahead with another one, that is your list some ways to deal with the congestion. So several ways to handle the congestions here. The first is your packet elimination, flow control, buffer allocation, choke packets, that has been represented here. Now here, other than that, here we had end up with this is unit 4. Then another few questions we have, like define a network congestion. So where two or more nodes would simultaneously try to transmit packets to one node, there is a high probability that the number of the packets would exceed the packet handling capacity of the network and lead to the that congestions as well. The another question they can ask you, differentiate UDP and TCP. So in UDP, the connectionless, TCP connection oriented. UDP connection is message stream and TCP connection is byte stream, where UDP supports broadcasting, TCP does not support broadcasting. The another one here we have, list some of the quality of services parameters of the transport layer. So ISO specifies the 11 quality of services parameter for the transport layer. The first is the connection establishment delay. The second is the connection establishment failure probability. The third is throughput. Fourth is transit delay. Fifth is residual error delay rate. And the sixth is the transfer failure probability. Seventh is the connection release delay. Eighth is the connection release failure probability. Ninth is the protection, and 10th is priority, and 11th is resilience. These were the parameters of the transport layer in the reference towards of the quality of services. Now we'll go ahead, that is briefly describe any two sessions related services. So the session layer provides the following two services here, that is of marks 2. The first is the dialog management. They're deciding whose turn it is, and some application operate in the half duplex mode, whereby the two side alternatively between sending and receiving messages and never send the data simultaneously. The second is the synchronization. With the synchronization that the transport layer handles only the communication error, synchronization deals with the upper level layer errors, and synchronization is achieved through the use of the sequence number as well. The third we have is your activity management, that allow the user to delimit the data into the logical units that call activities. So here we'll end up with this. First of all, it's a huge request from my side to all the viewers. Please go through with the subscribe button and please like, share and subscribe to our channel, so that many and maximum people can get the information at once, and even though you can also enjoy the video as well. In the unit 1, we had completed the introduction concept, where we had discussed about it, goals and application of network structures and architecture, the OSI reference model, services, network topology design, delay analysis, backbone design, local access network design, physical layer transmission, media switching method, ISD and terminal handling as well. In Unit 2, medium access sublayer, which is medium access sublayer, channel allocation, LAN protocol, Aloha protocol, overview of IEEE standard, FDDI and data link layer, elementary data link protocol, sliding window protocol, error handling as well. In Unit 3, that is your network layer, we had completed that. Network layer, point-to-point network, routing congestions, control internetworking, TCP IP, IP packet, IP address and IPv6 as well. In Unit 4, transport layer, we had completed now, and in this class, that is transport layer, design issues, connection management, session layers, design issues, remote procedure call, that is presentation layer, design issues, data compression technique, cryptography, TCP, window management as well. In the Unit 5th, we have to cover up with that is application layer, file transfer, access and management, electronic mail, virtual terminals, other application, example network, internet and a public network as well. So class आज के लिए इतना ही. Thank you. Hope you enjoy this video. If you like this video, please give a thumbs up and give a suggestion on a comment box. Please like, share and subscribe our channel. Thanks to all the subscriber and all the viewers.